Welcome to the Private AI Lab, the podcast where we experiment, explore, and debate the future of AI behind the firewall. I'm your host, Johan, and every month I have a guest in the lab to break down real world use cases, challenges, and innovations shaping private AI. In this episode, Andrew Fu will join me to do a proper review of the DGX Spark, the small but extremely powerful addition to NVIDIA's DGX lineup. So we're at the first experiment, and in the first experiment, I'd like to know more about Andrew. So, Andrew, first of all, welcome to the Private AI Lab.
Thank you for
Could you
having me.
briefly explain what it is that you do on a day-to-day basis? And let's start with that.
All right, yeah. Yeah, again, thank you for having me. I work with AI every single day, 24/7, 365 days a year.
That's a
So,
lot.
yeah, it's a lot. Yes, yeah, yeah. No, so I have actually two companies. One is Iodis, which sells the DGX Sparks amongst all other things concerned NVIDIA and AI. And we also do some thin client desktop stuff, but because we used to be a VDI company, and now we've for a while now pivoted to AI. NVIDIA Elite Partner also for more than 10 years, so quite some time. And on the other hand, I also deploy it real life. So I have a cloud company called HyperAI, where we kind of support customers that don't want to buy GPUs and don't want to run their own on-premise stack. So we do that as well. So both sides of the spectrum we do with AI.
Yeah, and we had a conversation last week, kind of to prepare for this. And one thing that really stood out to me is that you have a kind of a long history in IT, like in general. You did different things. Could you kind of mention some of the companies you worked for and with, and how that also kind of contributes to where we are today?
Yeah, yeah. So what I did is I started with printers, so in the printing industry, but then moved on to like peripherals. This is a long time ago, so more than 20 years ago, mainly surrounding the Apple ecosystem. And then my first job at a vendor, and I worked at almost every vendor that you know, it was at Dell. So I was there around 3.5 years. Dell just got into the Netherlands or into BeNeLux, and it was a very exciting time. I think we hired back then we were hiring like 50 people a month or something. It was
Wow.
it was some crazy growth. There, I started at desktop and notebook department, and then slowly moved on to servers. Um, some very big customers that I dealt with. I don't know if I'm allowed to name them, but it's an online travel booking. Let's call it agency, website, app, whatever you want to call it. So did a lot there, and I guess you could say I was able to see the 1 or 2% of IT. I'm talking like thousands and thousands of physical servers. So which was very interesting. Then I had a short stint at Lenovo. They were just kind of transitioning from IBM to Lenovo, and it just wasn't the right fit for me. So I stayed there for very short, but I was there. And then HP did that for a long time, almost 9 years. I've
It's a lot of OEMs.
Yes, yes, a lot of OEMs. Yeah, I was really in the vendor game. So there, I was responsible for everything that was like online or hosting. So either online or hosting. So with hosting, it was also cloud, of course, because it turned into cloud later on, but it started as hosting companies. Again, there quite a lot of data center stuff, and that slowly started transitioning into more database orientated. So everything that has to do with databases. accelerating them, making sure they stay online. Some of the stuff quite crazy. Again, like thousands and thousands of servers, even tens to hundreds of thousands of servers, all sharded across workloads, and then also physical sharding in a data center, multiple data centers, crazy stuff. So very fortunate to be able to kind of like be in that environment in general. Um, then I worked for Fusion IO, which was extremely fun. So I kind of went away from the typical OEM vendor, and there actually is you could say is the first start that it wasn't really AI back then, right? I guess some of the high performance computing stuff and even some of the machine learning was already being done on it. But it was an accelerator. It accelerated storage in a way that has never been done before, like the GPU is doing. So in that sense, for me, it's very similar to what's happening now with the GPU, and luckily NVIDIA is able to also capitalize on it quite heavily, I have to say. But yeah, so that was a little bit more difficult for Fusion IO, but it did turn into NVMe. So what you know as NVMe now definitely started. I always say, and Fusion IO is the daddy of NVMe. So, but it was a very exciting time, and that was my first feel of like if you really do something like, I dare to say it, and it's also panned out this way, like revolutionary. Then it's really, yeah, really spectacular what you see because you had customers that had problems for years with their workloads, mainly databases. And then, with one magic card in the server, it just poof, all their problems disappeared straight away. So yeah, that's very interesting, and a lot of it maps to now as well. So with AI, it's even more crucial to have performance, throughput, low latency, a lot of IOPS when it comes to storage. Then, but so the throughput and the low latency is extremely important, more than ever. So actually, I have decided a little while ago I'm just going to keep following the path of whatever accelerates IT and needs a lot of throughput and performance, and then it should always work out. Uh,
Yeah, I
and
I still remember the days of Fusion IO, and there, like I spent a lot of time in the VDI space, and I would dare to say that, especially with a lot of cloning operations, Fusion IO was amazing because you could
yeah,
suddenly clone a ton of virtual machines in an instant. And I think this is also one of the links to Iodis, right? So Iodis used to sell the VDI appliance that also included, if I'm right,
yes.
Fusion IO as part of the storage platform.
Yeah, I actually acquired Iodis early this year, so Q1 this year, and it was because of Fusion IO, because Iodis
Yeah.
was the distributor for Fusion IO, and that's where I got to know the previous owner, Mark. And I just loved the way he was extremely flexible to help Fusion IO, because when you're Fusion IO was really a startup, so it was sometimes difficult for the big guys to understand what Fusion IO was doing. And the big guys I'm talking about, actually the companies that I worked for, Dell, HP,
Yeah.
they were struggling with like what is Fusion IO, and yeah, Iris was really great at it and really helped us grow in especially in the Benelux region, and that's how I got to know the previous owner, and yeah, that's and now yet here we are. So
Awesome.
yeah, that's
Well, and this
actually
is
quite a funny story as well. Yeah,
yeah, and it's well, obviously the show is called the Private AI Lab, and we'll
yeah,
talk about AI a lot, and also
yeah.
what it is that you do or that you sell at IODIS. But first, as part of experiment number one, I love to know what your first or maybe most embarrassing or most awesome AI fail was in your career.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have a big one. So what I did is I started the journey of let's say AI as a service, right? So to host AI workloads, way before there was like OpenAI, ChatGPT. So let's say it's around officially started like 6 years ago, I think, but we were working on it for 8 years already. So and yeah, so this fail is you can hardly believe it because as you just said, I'm the OEM guy, so I worked at all the vendors, right? So I should know hardware, right? I should understand it. And I guess to most extent I do. But I decided, silly enough, to not buy NVIDIA for my first cluster, and I went with the GraphCore. Uh, and that turned out really sour in multiple ways. But now the way I say it is that you should think of it as buying an apartment. It was also the price of an apartment to get this cluster up and running. A genuine apartment in Amsterdam, I would say. So not a cheap apartment. Uh, and the apartment loses all of its value, and you also can't rent it out. So yeah, that's what happened to me. If you look on my LinkedIn, you will also see there was a bit of drama around it even. But in the end, I also have to look at myself, right? So I should have just gone with NVIDIA. So that was a big lesson. It's not just
So yeah,
that it's NVIDIA, but the thing is like what I highly underestimated is the software part of AI. And that's the crucial thing. And that's also actually, funnily enough, it's a little bit of a link to the DGX Spark. The software part is where what the real kind of mode of NVIDIA is. A lot of people think it's just the hardware part, and we can get into it a little bit more when we talk about Spark. But yeah, so that was my that was a crazy fail, insane actually. Yeah, it cost me
yeah,
a lot of
for the
pain.
viewers and
I can
listeners,
laugh about it now, but
yeah.
yes,
No, for the viewers and listeners who don't know what GraphCore did, they built I think what they call an IPU,
they did. Yes,
intelligent processing unit, and I think they kind of built market around COVID times, like 2020,
it
2021.
was exactly the COVID time. Yes,
Yeah, and I know, like when they launched, and I had a couple of conversations with the company as well. When they launched, they promised on certain, like on PyTorch and well, especially PyTorch, they kind of promised a better performance
yes.
for a lower price point and no licensing required. And I think at a certain point, even Dell, as one of the OEMs, was including GraphCore in their IPUs in their platform.
No, they were doing the management servers mainly.
Ah, the
So
management server, right?
yeah,
Ah,
so you couldn't just deploy the cluster. You needed a management server, and they didn't make that themselves. So you had
ah,
some OEMs that made the management server for it. And yeah, the overpromise was quite crazy. So, but it became because of the software, it actually became fully unusable. You just can't do anything with it anymore. And
wow.
it's also discontinued now. Even can you imagine? So it's really
Yeah.
generally like nothing anymore. Because the main problem was like, and then we can actually get into the software part, right? So when you would have a developer, they would have some sort of container or whatever, and they would come to us. Because not that they didn't have, of course, if you can run inference or training at a lower cost, they're obviously interested in it, right? So they would come to us and say like, yeah, here you go, right? And then I would just get the just get the NVIDIA SDK in the container, and they would just be like, yeah, let's run CUDA, right? And it's like, well, we can't because it's GraphCore. And they
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, so then how do we get it to work?" And then, well, it's okay, but you just need to adjust the code a little bit, right? And it was like, "Excuse me, what do we need to do?" They say, "We need just the code a little bit." They're like, "Okay, no, thank you, then I'll pass."
Yeah.
You know, so that was yeah, that was a hard lesson and a huge fail, one of the biggest fails in my life actually. But yeah,
Well, thanks so much for sharing this one. And like, I think it's well, what did you learn from it? Like as being an entrepreneur, and investing in such a big platform. I know, like it's always a matter of taking risks and mitigating those risks or calculating them. Like, but what did you, yeah? How did you kind of approach that, and what did you learn from it?
yeah. So. What I learned is that, but this I already knew. I just love hardware, right? So I think it's just I don't know, it just excites me. So I think it's just cool. All hardware, I think is just cool, especially also the Spark. But anyway, um, so when it comes to business, right? These are not consumer products, right? So they're quite expensive as well. Um, and what I've learned is really like to do some to not go too crazy on the early adapter bit, um, With the Spark, like I had my eye on it for a long time already, but anything NVIDIA now. So I look really ahead. Okay, where is it going? And then also see like, okay, what's the use case there? Um, and that's very important, to map. So just buying hardware, and I see that quite often still. Like people just buying hardware and then they think it's going to be all right. You need to know what you're doing when it comes to, the full stack, because you can have fantastic hardware and spend a lot of money on it, but if you don't know what to do with it, yeah, it's a shame, right?
Yeah.
So that's really what I learned, and not to swim against the stream too much when it comes to this kind
Yeah.
of stuff.
Well, thanks for the live lesson, I would say.
Thank you.
Now let's transition into experiment number two. You mentioned the Spark a couple of times already, but let's kind of start with the entire beginning, because the Spark was announced as Project Digits last
Exactly.
year,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like Jensen Huang, the CEO, he presented like a tiny box and promising kind of supercomputer performance,
Yeah.
and it from that it took off because it was announced or shown really to the public at GTC in San Jose earlier this year,
Yeah.
with a and announced actually as the DGX Spark, being part of the entire DGX lineup. Um, and the first question I have, because you went full on, like all into to the Spark again, and being an
Yeah. Yeah.
entrepreneur, you saw an opportunity. Why
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Spark? Why is it
Yeah.
so getting so much traction right now? And what kind of did you learn from the pre-order wave at
Yeah.
Iodis?
Yeah. 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 So before I go into the actual launch of things, let me just explain to you my thinking why I thought it was going to be a big thing, right? And it's fully related to actually to Jensen and his what I thought would be his thinking, right? So when the Project Digital was announced, I already saw the enthusiasm that he personally had on this product, kind of more than other products. Of course, he's excited by all of it, but really seemed like it was going to be like his own little pet project, right? And well, when we spoke, I'm very much into coffee. I have a coffee machine, which I bought from an espresso machine, right? Which I bought from a guy that works out of a garage, so he has no commercial store. He looks like a mad scientist. He barely has a website, and he has like a crazy beard and like really long and just a crazy dude. So he was just taking me to the motions. Like he has no idea how to sell, this guy, right? So he's just showing me stuff, and he's got like parts laying around, really like a mad scientist. And I asked him like, yeah, which machine do you have or would you buy, right? Because yeah, he looked. Yeah, I already knew like this guy is really into it, so he's gonna advise me a very nice machine. And so he said, yeah, it's the oh, I'll just mention it, the Bazera Strega, right? Bazera is one of the first espresso machine manufacturers in the world. I think together with Lamazocco. Anyway, I'm not going to go too much nerdy on the coffee stuff, but he, he said the Strega because it is a lever machine, so you can pull the lever, and it has a how do you call it, a pump. Normally, you have either a pump or a lever, and this machine had both. And I was thinking like, all right, but the price point was like a mid price point, so it was not the lowest price, but it was definitely also not the highest price. Then I got the machine, I looked at the machine, and I was like, wow, this finish is really nice. There's no sharp edges. It's really amazing. So I just bought it because of this, bearded mad scientist guy. But then I was like, okay, let me do some research on why it is so good, right? And then I found out this product, so this machine, is made by the founder, and he is Bezerra himself. It's the guy. It's the son, right? So he was like, they're probably within the company being like, come on, you can't sell it at this price because that needs to be more expensive. And he was just like, no, kind of like, part of my friends like, F it, I'm just gonna do it, right? And then so that I had that same feeling when the Project Digits was announced, because there was so much talk about it from NVIDIA. And most people, it kind of flew under the radar for a little while because it was also not ready yet. And then actually, you're actually right. When it was announced that it's going to be called the DGX Spark, that literally sparked me. I was like, all right, that is going to be a thing, right? Because if it's DGX, that's not a name that should be taken lightly. because that's the prime NVIDIA stuff, like prime. We're talking millions, billions, trillions. So I was like, yeah, this must be it then. So right when it was announced, literally, I would say on the day, I put up the website preorderspark.com, and then yeah, the rest was history. So. But it was also funny because the website was up for a long time. I'm talking like 8 months or something. And in the website world, that's of course not very long, but still, like for this specific niche, is very niche, of course. Thing it was up for 8 months, and yeah, nobody. They were like people from Nvidia themselves. They were also like, yeah, oh, that's nice, but nobody really cared. And until we literally flipped the switch from pre-order now to shipping now, and then it just went yeah, it just went bananas. I have no other word for it. It was crazy.
Yeah, because for the viewers, you're actually sitting next to a pile
Yeah,
of
I
boxes.
I have, yes. Here they are.
Yeah,
And there's some behind as well. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
yeah, let's dive into the kind of the storyline of the show. Like, let's drop into the unboxing experience.
yeah.
So I was one of the lucky guys to actually get one from you and or buy one from you, I must say.
Yep.
And unboxing, and I already in kind of the trailer for this episode, I already did the physical unboxing, so I took it out, and
Yep.
it's something that really stood out to me is I had the exact same feeling of unboxing my very first Mac back in 2008.
That's it.
um, I think it's the one thing that NVIDIA did really well is not just build a quality product, but
Yep.
also create a whole experience around it. So
Yeah, that was the thing.
if
Actually, let me, sorry to interrupt you, but like one of the NVIDIA guys, he also bought one. He bought it, personally, private. And we were we're both because I wanted him to he had actually one of the first ones. He was very that was delivered, so he was very like it's okay, like if you have time then I'll come by. And I said, yeah, I have it. And then he within like 10 minutes he was here. So,
oh man,
uh,
yeah.
so but
So
and then he was
I
like, when we
actually have it
opened it,
here.
oh yeah, nice.
So
Yeah,
people seeing it, I have it here. So the unboxing experience is amazing. So it's in a
yeah.
box logically, but looking at it, it actually feels like a Mac Mini, but solid gold and made from
Yes,
the same uh, metal and components, and including all airflow components, uh, which are actually in the full DGX lineup. So they
exactly.
engineered it with the same um, uh, yeah components which are necessary to cool such a device as well.
And it could
Um,
easily have been just a, let's call it like a plastic bezel or whatever, right? Could have
yeah,
easily been, no, nobody would have minded. But that's what I mean. I know it's really the project that he loved himself and must have been crazy involved with it. It's like Michael Jordan designing his own shoe, right? So,
yeah,
oh, you're also into Jordans, I know, but like, so then, yeah, so it's like him designing his own shoe. So this is his Air Jordan,
yeah,
right? So this is how he made it. And,
yeah.
and
So
like you said, like when we were opening it and we saw it, it was like a ha moment. We were like,
yeah,
whoa, this is,
literally
because
that.
I saw the little videos and stuff like that, but when you actually physically have it in your hand, you'll be like, okay, this thing is really, really nice, really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like what unboxing means in this case is the same with a Mac. Like you unbox it, you plug it in, and you press a button.
That's
Um,
it.
yeah, one thing I noticed is there is a button on it that you press, but there's no. I think that's kind of an engineering thingy, and I don't know if they're gonna solve it at all. But there's no light button on it, light on it,
Mm.
so you have
Yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
idea if it's powered on or not. Um, that's honestly the only downside I found. There's
Yeah,
no
yeah,
no
yeah.
light, but powering it on, hooking it up to a monitor. First thing that happens is you get a screen that says, "Are you going to use this remotely or interactively?"
Yeah.
And when you choose interactive, you basically go through the whole boot up and some of the questions in a wizard. If you do that remotely, it'll automatically give you a Wi-Fi access point SSID with the credentials to sign in.
Yep.
And what you do basically need to do next is install a tool called NVIDIA Sync, and
Yep.
that is, to me, like you mentioned the software aspect in the experiment number one. This is by far why I think NVIDIA made something amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The hardware is
Yeah.
great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I've been into home labbing. I built different types of GPU labs. There's actually one behind me. You can't really see it, but there's a cluster of Jetson Nanos there,
Yep.
and that's small and great and all. But this thing is a piece of engineering. Like it's amazing. There's 120 gigs of unified memory in there, which means you can run a ton of different models on here
Yeah.
with ease, without a
Or
problem.
big ones. Yes.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
coming back to the bring up, as soon as you open up the NVIDIA Sync tool, it'll ask you, or it'll detect if you're running VS Code, if you have the NVIDIA AI Workbench installed, if you're using Cursor, and there's a bunch of other tools that it supports. And it automatically ties into those tools and integrates into those tools, with the result that if I'm in VS Code and I want to push my code, I can automatically push it into the Spark without any issues.
yeah, exactly.
And it's those tiny things that
And it's also
make
like,
it an amazing device.
unless you want to do that, but officially, you know, you kind of like hook up a keyboard and monitor one time, and then you just treat it like a mini data center, right? You just
Yeah,
never have to, yeah. You literally just treat it like your own little mini data center. So I think that's really cool about it. That's also very important, is that if you treat it as a mini data center, then please make sure that the airflow is, you know, don't put it in a closet
yeah.
somewhere. It's not like a Wi-Fi router that you can just stick it in the closet. So make
No,
sure the airflow is good, right, around the machine. You know?
yeah, and I test drove a couple of things. When I touch it, it's not that hot, to be fairly honest. It does
Mm.
get like around maybe, I don't know, 30, 35-ish degrees, but that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
There are some fans in there, but you don't really hear them or notice them that much. It comes with a 200 watt USB-C power adapter. I
That's very
never
important, by
knew
the way. Yeah.
200
Yeah.
watts were a thing, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's
very
really important.
important because what I heard is that some people are trying to use I don't think it's happening on a big scale, but try to use the not 200 watts. But then yeah, don't do that. You know, that's not a good
Yeah.
idea. Just use the one that's there. It's there for a purpose, and you just need it. You know, you need the 200 watts, or else the performance is not gonna be good.
Yeah, and that's the
Uh,
difference probably with the Jetsons. You know, the Jetsons are built as also kind of as a mobile platform, right? So
yeah,
I got a Jetson Orin, and you can select in the UI of the Jetson Orin what the type of adapter is, power adapter that you're going to use. Is it like
yeah,
15
exactly. Yeah,
watts, 30 watts, or 50 watts? And depending on how you configure it, you'll get a certain performance.
yeah.
With this, you don't want to touch that because
No,
running
exactly. Yeah,
a running a 70 billion parameter model will
yeah, yeah, yeah.
need some performance.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's also what I meant. Like, it's really a little data center that you have on your desk, right? So, indeed, I think with the Orin, it's more really to deploy kind of in the field, and you can do some really wild stuff with that. You know, put it into like a, I don't know, telecom antenna or something like that, or you know, really deploy it to the field. And this is just literally it's a little data center on your desk. It's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
who
and
would have imagined
this is
that you could have that?
that's amazing, right? So like my previous home lab builds all had like T4s or L4s or an RTX 6000 or a 6000 Ada, and
Yep.
And those are really powerful GPUs. But like take an RTX 6000 Ada by itself, it already consumes, I think, 400 watts, 300 to
Yeah, yeah,
400.
exactly.
And
I have
that's
some
just your
T4s
GPU.
actually laying around here still. I
Ah,
have all sorts of GPUs laying around here, but also T4s. Yeah, funny.
yeah.
Yeah,
So you mentioned data center a couple of times, and I think this is definitely one of the things I want to talk to you about because um, Jensen mentioned during GTC in his keynote that the Spark has 1,000 TOPS, which is amazing,
yep,
and it's comparable. It has the same amount of compute power as the DGX One, which I think was announced in 2018, 17,
yep.
18 ish. Um, and while that is true, it's also kind of not true, right? Because yes, it has that amount of power, but it comes with some caveats, right? So when it comes to throughput, for instance, you
Yeah.
you can't really compare it to a big data center GPU or a cluster of GPUs.
No. Also, that would just be the price point that it has would just make that impossible as well. Because
Yeah,
the big brothers of the DGX Spark, let's say a current DGX, if you want to have a real DGX server, you're looking at 500,000,
yeah, yeah,
right? So B300, Blackwell DGX, that's 500,000, but probably even a little bit more if you add all that stuff there. Um, so yeah, they're thinking that you can put something on your desk for 4K, which is comparable. That's going to be difficult. But however, it is comparable to this in the sense that all of the stuff that you can do with that 500,000 one server machine, you can do with the Spark as well. So that's quite amazing. But it is the and you're right. I've seen a lot of this. I would like to, without disrespecting anybody, I would like to call it noise around like, oh yeah, but the 1490 or the 5090 has better performance, or I could get a better performance out of it, or yeah, then you're looking at it in the wrong way, right? That's not this product. And also that's what my advice for people that are looking at this machine in that way. So basically, let's make it very simple. They're looking at to punch out as many tokens per second as possible in like a home setup. This is one the professional line, or whatever you want to call the business line. Like I said, it goes all the way up to racks that cost multi-millions. And that's why it's so insane that you can put it on your desk for 4K, right? So it's actually, if you ask me, it's an amazing price because the software stack is there as well. What may be interesting as well for the build.nvidia.com, makes it also very easy to deploy stuff. Even more easy actually, because there's a dedicated Spark page there to also kind of, if you have no idea and you just bought it to test it out. And that happened quite often as well. A lot of customers, they were just like, yeah, it's NVIDIA, so it must be good. And they literally bought it just to see what they can do with it. Especially some of them that were using maybe the OpenAI API, right? So they never really touched any hardware whatsoever. And now they can, and some of them are already pretty big. It's not only small companies that are buying this. Also serious AI researchers are buying it, and they can now fiddle and mess around with a closed environment, not hosted anywhere, and can deploy serious models or do stable diffusion, or so that's quite amazing that's possible to do it now. And that's one of the myth busters, I would say, is that, yeah, if you already mentioned 5090, don't look at the Spark. Easy. Because if you think you can get better performance out of that, do that, right?
yeah,
Get better performance out of the 5090. But this is not made for that. It's made for business. It's a business product. There's also business warranty on it. You only get 1 year warranty from NVIDIA. The NIC, for example, that's also very interesting. The NIC itself is already like, I would say like around 1,500 euros. Just a NIC. If you go
yeah.
by
It's
the
a Mellanox Smart X, Smart Connect X 7,
Yeah,
if I'm not
yeah, Connect
mistaken.
X7. If you just Google it, you will find the price, and it's
Yeah.
not cheap. Uh, so that's serious hardware, right?
Yeah, and
And,
a couple of things you mentioned, I definitely want to dive into because, first of all, you mentioned fiddle and mess around, and I think, um, like looking at the entire DGX lineup, right? So we have the Spark, then we
yeah,
have like what's the next kind of like it's a big desktop machine,
you have
and
the
it
RTX Pro 6000,
yes,
kind of.
and
Yeah,
with the RTX Pro 6000, then you have kind of the DGX server lineup and all the way to the DGX SuperPod.
yeah,
And one thing that's really cool is that they all run the exact same OS. So DGX OS is on there.
yes,
But what you mentioned around like fiddling and messing around, I think that's exactly what this device enables you when looking at the entire lineup, right? So this is built for experiments,
yes,
and you can run like different types of models on there. Like I've been playing around with a code assistant based on CodeStrol, the Mistral coding model, and it even got more than I think 120 tokens a second, yeah, tokens a second being generated, while I was also running some other models next to it.
yeah, exactly.
And
Now, to like, I'm a bit of a hardware guy, right? So if you want a comparable, let's say VMem, if you take the throughput out of the equation, right, and you want to deploy, because what's the issue of let's say data scientists, AI engineers, AI research, whatever, is deploying the actual model itself. I would say most of them, especially in this setting where the Spark is meant for, they wouldn't really care too much about the token per second output because they're going to run that on in the data center anyway, in the real data center, not the mini data center that's on your desk. Um, However, the main issue was if you want to have either multiple models, a lot of them, if you would have, if let's say you would use an L4, right, or a 5090, whatever, you would run into limitations fairly quickly, and then you just get out of memory and you're done, right? Or you need to be really, really good at it, and then you kind of chart it across multiple GPUs, but then you need multiple GPUs. And now with this little box, you can host some serious models or multiple models or even multiple workloads all at the same time. And you don't need to, go to the big brother straight away because again, that's a cost thing, right? So if you look at a comparable VMem from a GPU perspective, just the GPU itself is going to cost you around 25K
yeah,
at least, right? Because you're gonna have to buy an H200 or a
yeah,
B200, and then you don't even have the server yet. You only have the GPU itself. So then you need the server, you need to deploy it somewhere. So before you're there, it's gonna cost you a lot of money. Um, and then yeah, you can prototype it. And I would say that's also the use case again. It's more or less prototyping it and making sure that if you run on that serious data center environment, and not that it's not serious, but you know what I mean, um, then you know it's going to work because indeed it runs the same OS. So you know it's going to work. You have no doubt, and it's just done. So I think that's the actual use case. So I think all the noise around, the throughput and the 5090 is supposed to be being faster. I think it's just, to me, it's just, honestly, it's just nonsense. It's just, and that's just not your use case. You should
yeah.
just look at what you thought you would. You should just do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that like there's a rise of mixture of experts models at this moment, and I heard or I read a news article of a new Chinese model being announced. I think it was Kimi K2 by
Yeah.
Heart, which is like a 1 trillion parameter model. It's extremely
Yeah.
big,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it definitely does not fit on a single machine
Yeah.
or a single GPU. But because it's a mixture of experts model, only the kind of the expert that you need will be loaded in GPU memory. And because of kind of that way of creating models that have what they call different experts in it, and just the
Yeah. Yeah.
expert that you need will be
Yeah.
loaded.
That's actually then we're going into something a little bit different, but yes, that's what you see now with the models, right? So uh, you could potentially only do coding with it, for example. Then yeah, you just use the codex expert within the model, or you'd want to do reasoning, or you want to do generative AI, and that's all in the model already anyway trained, and then you kind of pick and choose which one you want and then deploy it. But then definitely with the Spark, if you use these experts, yeah, you're gonna be able to deploy it
Yeah.
because it's everybody tries to fit it on the if you zoom out a little bit, most are trying to fit the model onto the, let's say, H200 B2 or 300 GPU. So around 120, 140 40 gig.
Yeah, and so this makes it a perfect device to even be able to run those big MOA models. But
Yeah.
you need to
Also, don't take
expect.
away from the performance, eh? Because we're talking
Yeah,
about maybe like throughput and tokens per second, like memory bandwidth. That's basically what we're talking about. But
yeah,
but it is a Blackwell GPU, so it is really fast. Really really
yeah, and
fast.
that's also kind of a great segue because the hardware is based on the GP10 Grace Blackwell chipset, and this is the actual Founders Edition. So
Yes.
that's the NVIDIA based machine, like the DGX lineup. It's all NVIDIA manufactured. But there's also kind of a series of OEM based devices coming up, right?
Yes. Yeah, we work a lot with Asus, for example, and they have one as well. And I think also there, look at your use case, right? Do you have or currently have or are thinking about deploying into the data center with NVIDIA, right? Definitely Spark. Even now, like yesterday, I posted it online as well. There's some updates on the DGX OS, right, for the Spark. And the Founders Edition is then you can just go to NVIDIA and then boom, it's taken care of. If you would have one of the other vendors, let's say Dell, HP, Asus, MSI, Lenovo, quite a lot of them are having the GB10 in a similar sort of form factor. Then you would have to go to them first, and then get the software update because yeah, it's not the NVIDIA box, right? So that's one thing to keep in mind. And the other thing is, yeah, like I said, so if that's very important for you to later beyond the Spark to port it to your NVIDIA data center GPUs, then definitely go for Founders Edition while it's available because it is limited, so it will be sold out. It's going pretty fast. So I don't know how long it's going to be around, and I genuinely think there's not another batch coming. There may be one more batch, and then that's it. But
Well, we'll touch upon a call to action in a bit. One thing
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I, I definitely
yeah.
want
It's
to
not
want to
me
talk
trying to
about.
buy it. It's also not me trying to say like, oh, buy it from me or something like that. But I'm just saying like, if you want to get
No,
it,
but
don't wait too long. That's it.
no, it's the
You
same
know.
with like with the
Mm.
G-forces. Like if
Yeah,
the Founders Edition is being launched and you want it, don't wait. That's
yeah,
just the general recommendation there. No,
yeah.
but you
So,
mentioned.
but yeah, so the other vendors, yeah, it's basically a similar box, right? But they have a little bit more flexibility on configuring it. So you have different storage options. Some of them have longer warranty than the 1 year, if that's important for you. And yeah, just a little bit more flexibility on how you want to configure it.
Yeah,
Again, that's also the way NVIDIA does it with the servers, right? If you buy the big DGX server, there's no configuring in it. It just comes as an appliance or as a fixed configuration. That's just the way NVIDIA works. And then OEMs, so that can be to your benefit if you want to have more flexibility on how you want to configure it. And also, I guess later upgrade it or stuff like that. This is really a fixed box. I wouldn't mess with upgrading it or something like that.
no, no, and the one I have is with 4 terabytes of storage, so and really fast
Exactly.
NVMe storage. So there's
Yes.
plenty of storage there. Now, one
Yeah,
thing I definitely also want to kind of highlight is looking at the data center and looking at kind of data center workloads. And one solution that we are, seeing a lot in the market is Run AI, and that's a great solution to, to create or to manage different types of, clusters, maybe throughout like different locations, and um, even make workloads portable. Now, this device does not support such a platform because it needs Kubernetes as a
exactly.
kind
Yeah,
of base infrastructure to have a cluster and land workloads on there. But I got the opportunity in Paris at GTC earlier this year to play around with DGX Cloud Lepton, which is actually the tool that I'm really looking forward to test driving now on my own Spark, which
yeah,
basically lets you create a control plane on top of all of the DGX kind of endpoints that you have. And it could be the Spark, could be a SuperPod, or everything in between. But actually let you deploy the workload that you build on the Spark, but also let you kind of, from a mobility perspective, if you build something that's really cool, push it out to whatever comes next.
yeah,
Maybe like a DGX a server or SuperPod, whatever the workload that you built needs to be pushed towards. You can do so through that cloud tool, and that's definitely looking at the whole software stack around it and the richness of and the ease of using it. I've been focusing with my team on developer experience for a while now, and how to create the perfect developer experience for AI developers. This comes perfectly close, I would say.
yeah. This is exactly it. Yeah. So that is that. Yeah, I touched upon it a couple of times now. That is a use case, right?
Yeah.
So this is why you should buy this machine. And you can also stack it, by the way. We haven't even talked about that. So if you have two, you can double the memory. So yeah, I guess hypothetically, I shouldn't be saying this, but I guess hypothetically you could just daisy chain it indefinite, right? Because you can just
Oh,
keep
is it
going.
so?
Yeah, because there's two ports, right? So you can just
Yeah.
keep going. But I think NVIDIA deliberately capped it at 2 units. But
Yeah.
I think you could potentially do more. But yeah, I didn't say
Yeah.
that.
No, and when you daisy chain it, you get twice the amount of memory. But
Yeah,
I also think that if you put a couple of them, because it runs DGX OS, which is basically a version of Ubuntu, and looking at the
yeah,
DGX servers, they fully support Kubernetes as a container kind of orchestration platform on top of that. So
yes,
having a couple of these, they have 10 gig of Ethernet, having a couple of these, like three as the kind of the workload servers for your Kubernetes cluster, would enable you to even run those workloads high available. But obviously, is not a data center
no, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
team. It
yeah,
does not
yeah,
have the compute power needed to do that. But
yeah,
hypothetically, if you want to have a high available environment for, let's say, 1, 2, or 3 users, it could work.
yeah. I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Now, did we miss anything before we head over to experiment number 3?
Then no, no, I think let's head on to number three.
Okay, so in the final experiment of the show, experiment number 3, I want to kind of want to recap on what did we learn today, and kind of what's next. So um, I think the first thing that really, to me personally, really, really stood out is the quality of the device,
Yeah,
the unboxing experience, the power
the
on
quality is just
experience,
crazy. It's
and the
crazy.
all over developer experience.
Yeah,
Experience is probably like the one thing
yeah,
that amazes me.
yeah. It's difficult to obviously like to explain it, right? But yeah, if you ever get one and you just open it and then you just know, right? When you see it, when you hold it, it's like, all right, yeah, this. It's just the Jensen box. Let me just call it the Jensen box, right? He really. He must have like I don't know dreamt about this thing or something and then just brought it to life, right? And I
The only
genuinely
thing it
think,
misses is probably his signature.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, he signed a couple I saw in
Yeah.
the field. So yeah, it's just amazing hardware. Like I said, I'm a hardware guy, so I just love hardware,
Yeah.
and this is very clear. So I guess I'm kind of biased, but I'm not biased because of what happened with it. I generally think like if you're thinking about buying this, just if you can get the founder one. It's so
Yeah.
nice. It's amazing, beautiful.
Now, if people want to buy the Founders Edition, and they have to be quick, but like let's say it's still available for the next couple of months, and people want to actually have it, and they live in probably Northern Europe, what should they do?
Yep. Well, they can either fill out the form on. It's still filling out the forms. I'm working on getting it a little bit more easy going. But I do also think like this specific machine is not going to be around for a very long time. So for me to update the entire website is not worth it. I think. But they can go to preorderspark.com. So again, that's preorderspark.
Preorderspark.com.
Yes. Or they can send an email to sales@iodis.nl.
Okay. I'll make
So
sure to leave links to these in the show notes, also at the blog and the newsletter.
much
Also,
appreciated.
if hypothetically the DGX Spark will run out you run out of stock, they won't be remanufactured anymore. But you mentioned that you are also working with Asus,
Yes. Yeah, then we will start providing that machine as well, yeah.
right?
And we of course also provide any other GPU that you may need as a customer. I also think what's next is besides Iodis, I think we haven't seen we're just getting started when it comes to the DGX Spark platform. Now already an OS update has been released, but I think a lot of third parties are working on it as well to integrate into the Spark. So that's going to be very interesting. And I think we generally may even see some businesses popping out of this machine, right? Because on a smaller scale, and I really think
Yeah,
it's if because not the data center big guy GPUs is not for everybody, right? Like I said, it's not for the faint-hearted. It's a server is 500,000 with just one server. That was unthinkable back in the days. Uh, and one GPU is also if you want to get I guess the equivalent data center GPU when it comes to VMAM is the closest one is the RTX Pro 6000 server edition or workstation edition, but you still then have 96 gigs, so you have less memory. And that already cost on its own around, I would say around 8K. So double the
wow.
price of the Spark. And then you still need a workstation or a server to house it and the memory and everything like that, right? So it's genuinely very good value, I think. And it's a platform that's going to be developed for sure. NVIDIA is going to not just it's not just a hype thing. I think they really wanted to get a lower entry into the real. If you also look at the numbers, right? They beat the numbers again, so that's also interesting to talk about. I think there was a lot of doubters, like, oh yeah, are they going to be able to do it? And they did it. If you see the chart, it's literally off the charts. He also said the sales are off the charts.
Yep.
He predicted even more, Jensen predicted even more sales for next quarter. Um, I think he wanted to get those kind of unreachable GPUs, because let's be realistic, for a lot of companies, those GPUs are unreachable into their hands, right? And that they can without having to rent GPU or because renting GPU is also not easy. It's difficult. It's not easy to it's not easily available. Let me put it that way. So I think
Yeah.
it's really to let's call it democratize the data center GPU, not the
Yeah.
gaming GPU. That's a different department.
Yeah,
So
it
I think
does
that's where
have
it's going
some
next.
encoders and some decoders on it, and it can actually, like you mentioned, stable diffusion. You are able to run that, but obviously not as fast as a decent RTX GPU, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's logical. Yeah, you mentioned
Yes.
the profit, like yesterday night was the so yeah. Now you also have an idea when we're recording this, but they had their annual or their quarter numbers being presented, and they made a $31.9 billion profit. It's insane.
Yes. Yeah, that's insane.
Now,
But
like,
they are very efficient. If you look at the amount of people that
yeah,
they have in comparison like very few people. So they're super lean. And I have been in the OEM vendor space for a long time, and I've never seen, and I'm saying I never say the word never, but I've never seen a company that has risen to this level, like become like let's say a market leader. Um, not let's say they are definitely a market leader, um, and still keep innovating at this pace, even sometimes to the own discomfort of the customer, right? But they just know that we're going to have to keep innovating, bringing out products like the Spark to keep our position, right? And I think they
yeah,
genuinely enjoy it as well. Like everybody that I speak to from NVIDIA, they're super happy and proud of the company. And that's not just a, a money thing, right? You can't because also all of the I think staff member number one to I don't know how many in like San Jose, they're all there still.
yeah,
And trust me, they don't have to be there. They choose to be there. They want to be there. So
yeah.
that's
Now,
yeah, it's a
like what?
really something like I've never seen before with
No,
NVIDIA. Like
yeah, that's amazing. Well, hopefully in 30 years time, the people at Iodis and HyperAI will still be there as well. Um,
yeah.
and that's kind of a segue into the last section of the show. Like hypothetically, there be a possibility that I would invite you over in a year from now as well, to talk about something else, or maybe like the new version of a Spark or whatsoever.
Yep.
Um, and I like to test you on something. So
Nice.
in a year from now, what do you think will happen when it comes to AI? Any predictions for the next 12 months from Andrew Fu?
Yeah, so I've really noticed that AI, like I said, we started around 8 years ago to really focus on AI. And you have these, I call it waves, right? So you have these waves. The baseline is, and that's why NVIDIA is NVIDIA, the baseline is obviously always the infrastructure. Like, let's call AI a train, right? The train is going, it's a high-speed train, so it's moving really, really fast. It's one of they could potentially call the hyperloop. I've never seen that development and stuff that's coming out. Sometimes it's almost exhausting, right? New stuff is coming out like every day. You're also fully on this, so you know it, right? There's new announcements like almost every single day. New models coming out, this coming out, this coming out. So it's very crazy. So, but I think like if you look at the first wave, it was training, right? So then also that's something that I underestimated myself, but that's for a different day. For training, you just need hundreds of thousands of GPUs and billions of dollars. So and the players that were able to do it, they did it, right? That's the Googles, the Amazons, the Metas, Teslas. Um, then you started going into LLM. That's still there, of course, right? One of the main use cases of AI at the moment. Then there was a Gen AI wave, right? All of a sudden, AI could make stuff, right? So that was cool. And I think now, but I'm not sure if I may be a little bit early with my prediction here. So for next year, I don't know over there next year, but you actually also already did something with yourself and ITQ with the robot dog, right? I think robotics is going to be definitely the main thing coming. So all of the other use cases will still remain extremely important and also where a lot of effort is going to be spent, right? So Gen AI, LLMs, and still training AI. I think robotics is really the next wave, so to speak, because it
Awesome,
was,
man.
if you looked at it, it was really tiny. The amount of AI that was being spent on robotics. And I have to admit, I'm guilty of being a Elon fanboy, right? So I really like what Elon Musk does. But he also said his prediction is that 1 out of 3 will have a robot at home, a genuine, like the, the Optimus type of robot. And of course, he's talking his own book because, he's selling this robot. But I do
Obviously.
genuinely think, yeah, of course, right?
Yeah.
But I do genuinely think that this is the way where it's going, right? So,
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
yeah,
Andrew, you mentioned pre-order spark.com and sales at iodis.nl, I think, or .com.
NL, yeah, it should be changed to
.nl.
AI, but for now,
Yeah.
it's NL.
So if people want to follow you or reach out to you, what should they do besides those two? Can if like go on to LinkedIn or whatsoever?
Yep. I'm fairly active. I would say I should be a little bit more active, but I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is just it's linkedin.com/my name, Andrew Fu. And then you'll be able to find me.
Yeah,
And
I'll be sure to link to create a link to that as well in the show notes.
sure. And
Dude,
then
thanks so much for being part of the second episode of the Private AI Lab. I really
yeah, it was a
enjoyed it.
pleasure. Yeah, it was great.
And
Thank you.
I'll continue to enjoy the Spark.
All right, see you guys.
So, thanks for tuning in to the Private AI Lab. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, or visit johan.ml for more insights and experiments. Experiment complete. Until the next one, stay curious.